Mystical Arcane here. Welcome, greetings. I am going to be running an autistic interpretation upon the debate, specifically of the economic issue, which is the most important thing according to voters. Wow, what an interesting thing, the economy. First of all, let's clarify the rules of the election. No, of the debate, not the election. 2 minutes to answer a question, a minute for rebuttal, a minute for response, and an additional minute at the moderator's discretion if they believe it is not truly informative, or they don't understand. We shall be seeing that, but first, I think I'll share some clips by Nick Shirley. He has 804,000 views on this video of him interviewing people about the presidential debate before and after. I'm going to be looking at people who were interviewed beforehand. It's also in Atlanta, you know. It's a little more liberal than conservative, so you'll be seeing more liberal people. For the people he interviewed, let's take a look at that.
Site is tomorrow.
Yeah.
The debate is over. Who wins?
Oh, Donald Trump 100%. Sleepy Joe out of here, bro. Kidding me?
You don't think Joe's got a chance?
No, not a chance. Unless they, like, put him on a bunch of secret drugs and stuff, then maybe.
What kind of drugs do you think they'd have to put him on? Like Adderall?
Like some crazy type of Adderall, probably.
A good B12 shot in the might do it for him.
So, the first guy, he had a interesting idea. So, his idea was him and his buddy think that Biden will be on drugs. An interesting theory. I don't exactly believe that, because he is an old man. People are forgetting that Joe Biden is 81 years of age now, and Trump is only 78. I say only, but like, it's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? But Biden is 81 years of age, and he's really feeling it, if you guys have been looking at the clips, and that's a sad thing to see. Somebody withering away in real time. I don't believe his body could handle the drugs of this hypothetical. So, I personally disagree with that notion. Let's listen to the second guy, what he has to say.
Say the debate is over. Hindsight is tomorrow. Who do you think comes out of the debate looking like a winner?
I think debates are irrelevant. Luckily, they're cutting the mics out on Trump so they can actually speak. If you're Trump supporters, just know, I'm from New York City. He only cares about himself. He's using you, okay? He's not going to do all the stuff he says he's going to do. He probably had a lot of abortions himself.
Huh? Probably had a lot of abortions himself. Fucking Trump? Trump had a lot of abortions himself? Well, okay, I'm going to hold that thought.
And, you know, he just makes stuff up, you know?
That was it? He just makes stuff up, you know? What the Okay, so I think that guy was lacking in awareness of all kinds. That was utterly ridiculous. He thinks debates are irrelevant. Says that Trump is only using you, only cares about himself, and I'm from New York City, and he probably had a lot of abortions. Oh, and then he said he makes stuff up. Well, the awareness is lacking. What the hell did I just listen to? Okay. I think it's time we drop the crackpot, move on to the next person. Next people, actually, it looks like.
You guys ready for the debate?
Oh yes, we're ready.
And what can we expect to see from Joe Biden?
A lot of good sense.
And what about Donald Trump? What can we expect to see from Donald Trump?
No comment.
What about you?
I'm starting to hear a lot about a good policy from Joe Biden on his end. Donald Trump, probably the same thing we've been hearing for the past 4 years. Revenge this, revenge that. I'm the victim. A bunch of nonsense.
Alright. Well, a bunch of hopeful people about Joe Biden. Good to see people out and about, but, just what I expected, but, like, interesting hopefulness. He's just talking to a comedian, for the next part, so I'll just skip that, because all he does is impersonate Trump.
Why do you like Joe Biden?
Because he has much better policies for people in the climate.
Why?
So, much better policies for people in the climate. That is actually an interesting answer. That is a good answer, I would say. Well, I'm not here to look at the debate on climate and people, so I won't do anything against that. I won't show any clips or anything of that nature for this video. I might do it on a future video, but as for now, I don't think I particularly have much interest in doing that. So instead, I'll just say, what a helpful person. Good answer. Let's listen to what this guy has to say.
Why do you like Joe Biden?
I think he does exactly what he says he's going to do. He's delivered countless times, and he's the best candidate that's on the ballot for us. It's going to be a phenomenal debate tonight, and we got, 2 more after this. This is going to keep on knocking out the park. As you can see, people out here are going to be voting for Biden come November, and we're just waiting for it. I think he's going to talk about the accomplishments he's done. He's going to show strength that he was out here able to get up on the stand and compete with one of the worst liars in America, and he's going to show us why he should be getting another term.
All right. That guy was extremely confident, unbelievably confident in Biden. Does he know anything? Best candidate on the ballot, huh? Knocking two other debates out of the park. All right. He does say that they're just going to be waiting for November to vote for Biden. So clearly these are people who don't really care about debates. Which makes sense, but like a lot of the time you should listen to the debate if you're going to listen to candidates or vote for a candidate. You should listen to some parts of it before you start voting, or at least know about policies. This guy says Joe Biden's accomplishments. Joe Biden's probably going to repeat, but I don't know what... That doesn't really inform me of anything. Because, you know, this is the time for you to actually speak upon your accomplishments as well as inform what you're going to do for the future. That's what a debate is for. But, I mean... I think the confidence for Joe Biden here is... I don't think he should be that confident. We'll see. We'll see in the debate. If you guys have already watched the debate, don't spoil it for the rest of us, okay?
So Joe Biden is out here, and one of the campaign promises is free ice cream?
Yeah. We want some free ice cream, yeah.
And what can we
That is so based. I agree. Free ice cream for everybody. Joe Biden promise.
expect from Joe Biden tonight here in the debate?
I think he's going to knock it out. I think he's going to do a great job. He's going to show what he showed during the State of the Union, that he's still a great president, and he's going to have a great another 4 years.
And ma'am, your shirt says "Woman for Biden Harris." And what makes you like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris so much?
I think that really, if we're talking about contrast, there's only 2 people in this race of currently 3, Trump versus Kamala and Biden, who are really showing that they are in solidarity with women. They're here to protect women's rights. The alternative is threatening to rip them away, and already got started with that.
What rights would Donald Trump take away from women?
Abortion, which I consider to be right.
What do you think America should do with abortions? Should it be should it be something that's issued at the federal level or at the state level?
I think that our candidate is for women's health care as far protected as we can get it.
Okay, so pro-abortion or like...
I'll leave that to him to say, for sure.
You?
I'm pro-abortion.
Interesting. So, that was interesting. First of all, I'll clarify, it doesn't matter what you think are rights. Rights are something fundamental to humanity. Abortion is a privilege as it is healthcare. And it's a very nice privilege to have healthcare. A very good privilege. So that, I think, is kind of stupid to argue it's about women's rights. It's about privileges of being in a first world society. So after that, they talk about state versus federal. She doesn't seem to understand what state versus federal means. She just wants it as protected as possible, which means going federal, because state level is protected by civilian. Protected for civilian. Federal is when the government forces something to be unbendable. In the state level, you can go to a different state. It doesn't apply everywhere in the United States. And she was asked a question. She was asked a question of what about the candidate's support for it, and she doesn't seem to know. Which, I mean, she was so confident about it earlier, but I think that's just a bit weird. Let's listen to this person have to say.
You think Joe Biden will win the debate?
I am highly hopeful that he will, and I'm confident that he will, you know? Let's go Biden.
Let's go Biden.
You know? Say hindsight's tomorrow.
Yeah?
Does Joe Biden win the debate?
I definitely think so, you know? I mean, I think that right now, we have the chance to see who these people are, right? If Joe Biden's putting on a mask, we'll see that. If Trump is putting on a mask, we'll see that, you know? I think it's that chance for them to really show who they are as a leader and the type of society they want to build for people in America.
Awesome.
That's okay. I know this is a little different from earlier. I'm pausing in the middle of it, but I actually support. I agree. This person, those are some good points. I see who's behind the mask. Yeah, that's a good answer. This is exactly the type of response you want from someone pre-debate. You want to hear what they have to think about debates as well. And I'm liking what I'm hearing.
And obviously, you're for Joe Biden. Say Joe Biden makes a fool of himself tonight.
Yeah.
Would that make you want to vote for Donald Trump?
I think that that's kind of a really silly question, because I think that could go both ways. I think that if I was a Trump supporter and I saw Trump acting, you know, silly or not his best, or even with Biden, I think it definitely should make any voter do more research on who they want to vote for. I think they should always keep an open mind.
And
that was... She's smart. Just actually intelligent. She's a confident and intelligent person. I agree wholeheartedly. If you go into the debate with a preconceived notion, I do believe you should pay attention to the debate and how they conduct themselves within the debate. If both people are just completely moronic, or they just start acting their extremely old age, I do think you should pay attention to that. There's been clips circulating around of Trump arguing with Biden over golf. I do believe that might actually happen in the debate. I don't believe we'll be seeing it on the video, but that is a thing to consider, because if that is true, it doesn't matter who you're voting for, Biden or Trump. You should definitely realize that is extremely silly, even if it is extremely comical. But yeah, I may disagree with her political candidate, but she's an intelligent woman. I agree with her mindset.
Donald Trump! Put him in jail! Arrest Donald Trump! Put him in jail! Lock him up! Lock him up! 34 felonies! Lock him up! Biden! What?
I think I'll ignore the protester and what they have to say about the debate. But yeah, that's everybody for the pre-debate. This is all of the people the guys interviewed. So with those in mind, how do you guys think the debate will go? Would you comment down below? Before you watch the rest of the video? Who do you think will win the economy before and after? Let's do one of those, right? So, let's see how things start.
The 46th president of
All
the
right,
United States.
here is Biden. Biden's walking in.
How are you? Great to be here. Thank you.
And please welcome.
All right, interesting introduction. I mean, I don't. His voice is kind of quiet, but yeah, respectable gait, respectable walk. Let's look at Trump.
The 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump.
I'm gonna be honest, it just looks like he's power walking towards you. That is, I think it may just be how he walks, but there's something odd about that. All right, that is them. They are here on the stage. So, I mean, they're looking pretty sharp. They're looking nicely dressed. They definitely brought their best. So we're gonna be listening for the first issue, which, as I mentioned, is economy.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
Okay, I'm gonna pause before he answers. $100 to 100 and more than 120? Technically, yeah, it's more than 120. I just don't think it's that's. Look, I think that's an understatement. I think most people will agree the groceries has been ridiculously expensive. So, yeah, let's listen to what Biden has to say, because this is about so this question, if you want it to be more paraphrased or whatever, is about why people who think they're worse off under Biden, why do they think that, and what do you plan to do with that, basically?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all by the time he...
All right, I'm going to stop it there. So, here's what... Okay. He said for former President Trump told people to inject bleach. That was a false. That was a lie. I'm going to say that right now. There was something mentioned about bleach in relation to COVID. It was about medical procedures that acted sort of like how you would bleach things. And he wanted to think how would that work against COVID. He wasn't actually saying inject bleach into your bloodstream. That is an utterly ridiculous thing to claim, but I don't know why I need to defend him for that. More than that, Donald Trump, he says the pandemic was badly handled under former President Trump, claiming that the former president said it wasn't serious. That is something most people do agree with. A lot of people agree that former President Trump did not handle the COVID well. He handled it decently, but not well. For an unexpected virus, it was an okay response part of the time, which is sad to say. And if you do support Trump, you usually would agree with that anyways. You just don't want to say it out loud. But after the bleach, that's kind of a lovely start. All right, so Biden then goes on to talk about how he was how he had to build up because of Trump's poor management. He had to build up after that nonsense. 800,000 manufacturing jobs and all that. He started talking about how he grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He then blamed corporate greed and wants to cap rents. Yeah, remember the landlord situation back in COVID? when they still haven't gotten their the money back that they were forced to waste for bad renters. That thing. Yeah, he wants to cap rents of the already annoyed landlords. Not an amazing strategy, especially since landlords own quite a lot of, like, by trade, they own a lot of properties that they rent out to people, simply because that is how they make their living. I'm sure they will love this response from Joe Biden to cap rent, you know, because that's what landlords always do. They love having the government, they love licking the boots of the government as it forces them to pay even more out of pocket to fix unruly tenants. That's an issue most people don't realize. Landlords are directly, every time you ruin your apartment or anything, it's not just you who's paying for it. It's also the landlord. The landlord loses a lot of profit from, and then there's the renters who got away with not paying the landlords. That was a thing in COVID. You can love or hate a landlord, but that is a fact. So, with that in mind, capping rent, not a great idea. I don't think Biden should have said that, because landlords, they may not be the largest group of people, but they are literally in every city. So, Biden talks about prescription drugs and how he brought the price of those down. Only, there was, okay, so there is prescription drugs. That was something that he was trying to do. However, the prescription drugs are actually from, the prescription drugs thing is something that he was doing in deals back in 2021, would only come into existence 2023 or 2024. And there were 4 rounds. There were going to be 4 rounds. One to be decided in 2025 or 2026. Another after that, and another after that, I think. But they are not drugs that we were told beforehand, because they were drugs that were pending review, They were basically negotiating the price of drugs for Medicare, Medicaid, and all that. That's how that worked. That's what Biden did. But he starts talking about those and how he brought the price of them down. I still don't know what drugs they were, but I do know it was a plan of his, and I do know that they were in negotiations for it. So, he then claims he decreased the price of insulin. That wasn't something Biden did. That was something done during Trump's presidency. That was something Trump had done for Medicare and Medicaid.
We brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
The thing is, I don't understand what any of this has to do with the economy or home supplies. I can understand going for insulin. Insulin is important for people who really need it. It is a very valuable thing, and it's expensive in America. But the rest of this doesn't really relate to the economy. COVID relates to the economy, even if tangentially, and only in some sense of COVID happened, we had to deal with it. But Medicare, healthcare, I don't believe so. So that was President Biden's 2-minute answer for the question. I'll paraphrase. His policies toward the economy are, he'll allow you to put stuff on the kitchen table. And I guess make prescription drugs more available. We'll move on to Trump, who immediately starts claiming out of the gate, as arrogant as possible, he had the best economy in the history of the U.S.
Thank you. President Trump?
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
We had an economy so great that other countries were copying and amazed by it.
We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929.
Well, it's confident. It's just extreme arrogance. Okay, that's all I have to say about that part. We spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in the Great Depression like 1929. That was when it came to the COVID. That was his response to COVID. An interesting response. He says that his administration got credit for the economy, military, and no wars, but they never gave credit for getting us out of that COVID mess.
The thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country, but other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible.
I don't know why Trump keeps claiming stuff like this, because it's arrogant, and also, I don't believe many people agree with that. I don't think many people agree with Trump getting us out of COVID. I do think they agree with Trump, like, helping COVID, like, helping us with it, but that was, I mean, Operation Warp Speed, but, like, actually getting us out of it? Sure, economical-wise, he helped greatly beforehand, but he had no control over the states that decided to impose lockdowns and mandates and all that. So I can't really say that he helped get us out of the mess. He starts attacking Biden, and Biden makes funny faces. Trump says that Biden's only gotten bounce back jobs from before COVID, and they came back afterwards, and that inflation's killing our country. I didn't hear any policies. I guess he's just going to return to what he already did. We'll figure that out a little later in the debate. Biden kind of claps back. I'm not going to lie. It's a good quote.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world.
Nice. That was a nice clap, because as much as you don't want to admit it, that the person you disagree with politically is right about something, Biden's right there. I don't believe Trump had the greatest economy in the world. You awarded the wealthy, had the largest tax cuts, raised the deficit larger than anyone else in one term, and you lost more jobs you had than when you began, worse than since Herbert Hoover. Biden loves using the Herbert Hoover line on Trump, so that, I mean, if you watch, like, Don't Walk, Run Productions, or, like, anyone who actually studies Biden speeches, they'll tell you the same thing. He loves using that line against Trump. Biden kind of gets a little wild with his claims. So after this, he starts talking about Afghanistan. He says that Trump wasn't doing anything for Afghanistan. Soldiers were still dying overseas. Then he claims that people felt they were safe under Trump, but the truth is, I, as in Biden, am the only president in the last century, in this century, corrects himself to this decade, who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Like he did.
When he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
Biden genuinely claimed this and thought it. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but what the fuck? Well, that's a mess. That's a mess of a statement. I'm gonna ignore this because this is about the economy. But genuinely, what the fuck? the CNN moderators decide, yeah, we're not going to pursue that. Trump says, hey, can I speak? And they're like, no. Let's talk about something different. They might bring it up later. But what the fuck? So, they ask a really good question for Trump. There's a 10%, Trump plans for a 10% tariff of goods coming into the U.S. How will that be ensured to not drive the prices higher?
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
Trump claims it won't make them higher, only claims that it'll stop countries from like China from ripping us off. Now, I mean, tariffs are not a terrible idea. I personally don't agree with them, but at the same time, I'm not in a position to be president of the United States. So, tariffs could work. Tariffs do help with some things, but they also artificially influence trade, and I'm not a person who likes that type of thing. I do believe he is confident in this plan, and we did have tariffs under his presidency. They weren't terrible. I mean, most people barely noticed, but yeah, he did have tariffs. He says that it'll decrease our deficit, make us earn more money and revenue from all these people apparently ripping us off in other countries. Then he starts attacking Biden. The only thing he said that was true was that I gave the largest tax cuts in history. I also gave the largest regulation cuts, gave us all the jobs, and now the jobs bounce back because of COVID.
Down and then they bounce back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
I'm surprised Biden didn't get a clap back about that, but respond in any way, but the CNN moderators then start going, national debt. These are good questions. I do think the CNN moderators were doing a good job during this the economy section because I haven't seen any problems yet. The next question is, national debt soared to record highs under both of their administrations. Many of the tax cuts will expire next year, but you want to extend them with these deficits. Why should they, the corporations and top earners, pay less than they do now? Trump goes on to claim they spurred the greatest economy the world's ever seen. We took much more revenue with much less tax. And apparently it helped us get through COVID better. He said he cut the corporate tax from 39% to 21% and brought significant gains to the country. He then starts going on a rant about COVID. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics, with all the things. I wasn't writing everything down there. Trump likes to rant, okay? No, that's one thing people will notice whenever they hear a speech. Trump loves to go on these tangents. I guess it's because he doesn't ever have a script. He starts going on a rant about COVID. More people died under his administration than even though we basically already fixed it. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. Many people objected to it. He did a poor job, a very poor job. Most countries don't respect the U.S. anymore. We're like a third world nation. And he talks about the weaponization of law against him as a political rival to Biden. That was mostly irrelevant. All this talk about COVID and how poorly handled it was by both administrations. And Trump starts talking about immigration, which he asked Biden Why did you allow millions of people from prison, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country? I think Trump was actually mad during this segment because he had just felt mad. It felt like anger here.
The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump.
Yeah, it just felt like anger. So the moderators say we'll be talking about immigration later. We don't want to really do that here, which is a good thing. I personally do not want to listen to the immigration policies right now, you know? Well, it's a little too much already listening to the economy. So they asked Biden how what his thoughts were, and Biden says he wants to fix the tax system, remove the 1,000 billionaires that are apparently in America.
We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period.
They pay 8.2% in taxes, and you want to raise it to 24%. The reasoning he gives is to raise $500 billion in a 10-year period to wipe out the debt. The debt that is trillions of dollars every year. 500 billion is nothing in 10 years. Okay? So think of it this way. The government spends hundreds of billions of dollars every month, and making $500 billion in 10 years is easily going to do nothing. Now, if he meant like every year for 10 years, well, I mean, it'd still barely do anything. That is how bad our deficit actually is. So I don't really agree with this statement. I don't think it's something he should have said. Raising the taxes of people just to give such marginal increase in money, which is wild to think about. The fact that billions would be marginal, like hundreds of billions is basically marginal by the country's standards. That is insane to think about, when even the richest people don't feel like they are worth 500 billion. So he starts talking about care, child care, elder care, strengthening our healthcare system, make sure every solitary person is this is like verbatim. Every solitary person is eligible with the COVID excuse. With the COVID, excuse me, dealing with everything we have to do. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
I put that on the script. Verbatim. I listened to every word of that sentence and wrote it down. We finally beat Medicare. They asked Trump what his thoughts are, and he goes, "That's right, he did beat Medicaid. He beat it to death." Starts talking about Social Security, and now Biden's destroying it. Trump says the illegal immigrants will wipe it out as they're put on to Social Security. The moderators decide finally to topic change. This is the first election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. That's where they end the economy issue.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicaid, beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed.
So, with all of that you've heard, who do you think won the economy section of the debate? was it, neither of them promised much. It was basically, at most, it was a repeat of earlier tactics. They, like, earlier ideas for it, and the previous, their previous administrations are basically saying, each of them are, we're going to be doing what we're already doing. Do you support Joe Biden's already existing economy or Trump's economy, essentially, is what they're boiling this down to. We might find a different opinion, but that is what is happening here. Anyways, Mystical Arcane out. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this political commentary. I don't know. Genuine. Okay. The people who enjoy political commentaries are kind of miserable. Because I'm miserable. See, I'm projecting my miserableness upon you.
Hey, waiting to get right, only leave you left behind. Up goes the early bird soaring down. Scrounge around for whatever worms might be obtainable. Never knew who flew about theirs first. So what's available, not a lot it seems. What you gonna do for it? Anything out means? Type of dedication you gotta have as you're blazing the path. Never know who trailing you, hoping to get familiar with the ways of the things that we do. Ball hard and whole air.